Hi and good evening, everyone. My name is Amal Kowatli. I'm a Senior Engagement Specialist at Arizona State University, and today I am here with my colleague, Dr. Yako, to present creativity and innovation in the workplace. But before we begin, I just want to acknowledge, Zayed University for inviting the Al-Ghurair Young Thinkers program to be part of your Innovation Month at your campus. We're so excited to be a part of, spreading creative thoughts and innovative mindsets throughout the whole student body. And I'd also like to thank Sareen Jalul, who is the Senior Program Officer at the Abdullah Al-Ghurair Foundation for Education, and who also works alongside us on the Young Thinkers program, coordinating the logistics for today's presentation to make sure that we deliver it to you. So I am going to introduce, actually Lewis will do a better job introducing himself for today's webinar. And we'll talk about more the Young Thinkers program towards the end. I'm sure a lot of you are already aware of our platform, and we'll speak a little bit more towards the end on how you can be a part of our community. Please feel free to list any questions throughout the entire webinar in the Q&A or the chat box. And we will take all your questions towards the end of today's webinar. So thank you once again, all for joining. And without further ado, Dr. Lewis, if you'd like to take it over from here.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning to everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. We are very happy to be here with you today. First of all, I would like to start by giving my thanks and gratitude for everybody who supported me while I researched, created, and did this webinar. And I got a lot of support from my colleagues at Arizona State University, and especially Bethany Weigel and Amal Kowatli, and Tiffany Lynn and others. I'm also very grateful for the wonderful support from Al-Ghurair Foundation, especially Ms. Sareen Jalul and Nasma Farahat. I'm very grateful for all the staff at Al-Ghurair for their help. And I'm grateful for Zayed University for making this opportunity happen, for all the hard work that went behind the scenes so that we can all be here together to talk about creativity and innovation. And I welcome each and every one of you here today. And I hope it will be a wonderful webinar. I will start with a promise. I promise you that every bit of this webinar will be worth it. There will be a lot of good information and good stuff that we spent a lot of time thinking about. And I hope that you promise me back that you will be with me every second of it, and that you will let us know all your thoughts, all your feedback, all your reflections. You can chat and write for us, and we will look at them whether during or after the webinar. So because of the time, this is every minute is precious. We're going to start right now. Thank you again for being here. Sometimes I will use Arabic words to explain some concepts to make sure that they are very clear to each one of you. So I'm going to share my screen and begin this. Let me see if I'm doing the right one here. Here we go. So we will begin today with our presentation. So as you see, we're talking about creativity and innovation in the workplace. We hear these two words a lot, but one of the really big questions that come to mind, I'm sure in all of your minds, what do they really mean? But even more importantly, what do they mean when they are used in the context of workplace? What does it mean to be creative and innovative in the workplace? So this is the journey we're going to be together to understand what they mean in the workplace, and how do we understand them and succeed and be creative and innovative as we plan our career and future. So my name is Dr. Yako. I'm an anthropologist specializing in higher education in the region of the Middle East and North Africa. I was born and raised in northern Iraq. I'm fluent in Arabic and multiple other languages like Turkmen, Turkish, Kurdish, and others. And I have a great passion for education and for supporting students for their career and for their academic and educational path. So this is something that I think a lot about, I research and I write about, and it's a pleasure for me to be also in the capacity of a career and academic coach, a success coach for the Young Thinkers program, where the male users can always come and talk to me if they have any questions. So to give you a quick idea about what we're going to talk about today, we will start with an icebreaker to test the waters with everybody to see what you all think. I always like to hear your voices, your thoughts. We're going to then talk about understanding creativity and innovation. How do we understand these two terms? It's always good to start with the simple basic facts. How do you understand something? How do you think about it? We are going to talk after that about the benefits of workplace creativity. How do workplaces benefit from creativity? We're going to talk about features of innovation and creative workplaces. What features will tell us that this workplace values innovation and creativity? What are the qualities of creative and innovative individuals? I'm sure many of you wonder, if I am creative or individual, what kind of qualities I need to nurture and polish in myself? What kind of skills I need to acquire and work on more in order to be able to fit and to thrive in such contexts? I'm going to also talk about barriers to innovation and coping mechanisms. A lot of the barriers that I'm going to talk about are based on research, and you will see that they are very important to understand, and they could really change your life 360 degrees if you get to understand them and make them a way of life, not just some nice idea out there. We're going to show very quickly some Arab pioneers in innovation, and we will open it for questions and discussion. So let's begin. As I said, every minute counts. At this moment, I would like to start by taking 1 minute for you, my dear attendees, everybody, to share your thoughts with us. Can you tell me in one sentence in chat, what does creativity mean to you? So in one sentence, tell me, creativity for me means this and this and that, in one sentence. We'll take a minute or so to see what you all think. I would love to hear your thoughts. I'm looking at the chat. Turning new imaginative ideas into reality, thinking out of the box. I'm going to read them because they're wonderful already. Using your imagination to come up with new things. Yes, beautiful. Create something unique. I love it. How we do new things from the skills that we have. Yes. How do we turn what we have into something else? I love that. Production of non-typical and extraordinary things. Yes, very good. Creativity means to me when I create meaning out of the box. Absolutely. Creativity to me means thinking out of the box. A lot of you are saying that, which is absolutely true and very beautiful. Imagine new ideas. That is beautiful. Something you're good at and passionate about, bringing something new into being, generate ideas. I love it. I love it. I love that a lot of you are talking about ideas and things to do. And in a way, I guess it's both, right? It's turning this into this. So I love that. Inventiveness, very beautiful. So for the sake of time, while I'm really enjoying this, please keep writing if you think about something, because these are beautiful. We're going to move to the next point here. I'm going to actually, we're going to have a poll, and this poll we're going to ask you. Again, it's you talking to us. I love to hear your voices at the beginning to see what you think. And I'd be interested to see after the journey of this webinar, how your thoughts will change or simply be enriched or something will be added to them. Let me ask your opinion about this. Reading body language has nothing to do with creativity. How many of you think that this is true, false, or unsure? Give us your responses, please. Reading body language has nothing to do with creativity. I'm loving all of this. So as you see, 4% of people said it's true, 1%. Most of you, 24 people, said that it is false, and then 1% was unsure. So I love that. I love that most of you caught this, that body language, the way we read and understand people is a significant part of emotional intelligence. It's a very big part of understanding other people. And the question I pose, it's really a rhetorical question, يعني سؤال بلاغي بالعربي, which is, can you be creative without understanding other people? Is that even possible? And I think most of you will immediately say, no. I mean, creativity means to understand the world around me, but to understand it, I have to understand people as well. And understanding people helps me understand myself, and so on. So it's a process of us and the world interacting and engaging with each other. So thank you for this beautiful engagement with this. Number two, I'm going to ask your opinion. Not all careers require creativity. I would love to see what you think about this. Not all careers. How many of you think this is true, false, or you're unsure about it? Interesting. We're seeing some really interesting engagement and responses here to this question. So 6 people say it's true. Not all careers require creativity. 18 of you out of the 27 that we have here, they think it's false, that every career will require creativity. 3 are unsure. I would say, and of course, something for us to think about, as you'll see more as we talk later, but it's possible to be creative in any kind of work we do, no matter what that work is. And I'm not going to give you why right now, because I want to go through the journey for you to find out. But if you feel you still have questions about this as I go through the ideas that we're going to present, please ask in the chat at some point or bring it to the question and answer. But what I would say for now is every career, it's up to us to turn it from monotonous, routine, boring, to bring something new, to challenge it. Even if it's working with numbers, where the numbers are always the same, there's always another way of doing a budget, of working with numbers, of cutting the time of doing this work so that you can save time to do this. There's always a way to be creative and innovative, whatever we do. We're going to find out more. Number 3, and then I'm going to release you, I promise. This is the last one that I would love to hear your voices again, because this matters a lot. Technology is the basis of innovation. The basis of innovation is technology. What do you all think? True, false, or unsure? Wow, this one is really interesting. It's almost, we can say, people are a bit divided, or maybe half and half. A good number of unsure people so far. So we tend to think a lot about technology when we think about innovation. And now we're going to talk about what innovation is. But as you will see later, we're going to discuss that innovation is not technology. Even though we live in the age of technology, technology wouldn't have been possible without innovation. And in every age and every time, it takes innovation to create something new in every field of work and every field of life. So it is definitely not just technology, for sure. And I love that I love the responses we're getting, because it shows how much we're going to learn together in this webinar today. Every technology that you see something very advanced today, it started as a seed that you would have never imagined how far it would have gotten without innovation, without being creative. And you're going to see that over ages and across different countries and continents, there have always been innovative and creative people for as long as humanity existed. So it's definitely not just technology. And thank you all for responding and for being engaged with this. So creativity in simple terms, what is it? And I think a lot of you kind of touched on it when you gave me in one sentence what you think about it. And I wanted to do this so that we can at least have a definition to start from, especially in terms of how do you work with it? When an employer says, I want you to be creative, I want you to be innovative, what do they really mean? So why don't you define it in simple terms so we understand? Creativity is the act of transforming new ideas into reality. Or indeed, I would say ideas into reality, because there are creative ideas that are not new, but taking them and working with them, reworking them, repurposing them, looking at them from different angles and turning them into reality or applying them to reality, then that is creativity. It means always asking questions, as many of you said, and finding new ways to look at things. This is really important. How do you look at something you've always looked at? It becomes so like common. How do you look at it with a new way? So for example, if you all have noticed, I'm sure if you all have noticed, like there's a beautiful vase in your house on the table and you see it every day. So it becomes boring. And one day you're sitting and drinking a cup of tea at the table and you look at the vases that has all these nice signs and paintings on it. اللي بنسميها بالعربي نقشة، فيها نقشات حلوة. And suddenly as you're drinking tea, you say, wow, this is so beautiful. I didn't realize how beautiful this vase is. This is a new look at the vase. Sometimes something you see it every day, you forget the details of it. So part of it is to learn how to look for details. And innovation is a creative process based on insight, long-term and short-term visions. This is important. Innovation, it's not enough for you to have a short-term vision, even if it's a great vision. You need to combine the short with the long-term, because together they make the present and the future. They make innovation. Something could be very good for now, but it might in the long term be not be good for me, for the earth, for the environment. So innovation means to learn how to think about short and long-term things in life. It is finding new resources to solve present and future challenges. For example, we know that oil will not forever be here on this earth because it's been used for a long time. So now we have electric cars. We have a lot of other ways to sustain our planet and ourselves beyond one resource. So we're looking for new resources. And that applies to every field. You'll be surprised. It applies to literature. It applies to anthropology, sociology, political science, finding new resources to solve present and future challenges. So I hope these terms will help us engage better in the coming minutes of this webinar and what is coming. So for discussion, I would love for you to now again bring you back to chat and write. When you think of innovation, based on everything we said so far, everything that you expressed in the polls that we discussed, when you think of innovation, what person, product, or thing comes to your mind? I would love to read your reactions in chat about this one. When you think innovation, what person, product, or thing comes to your mind? Tesla. Okay, good start. I like that. Apple. Robots. Very good. Yeah. Cars, media. Now we're getting more variety. I like that. Creative new devices, whatever they are. That's good. Auto drive, care, or I guess you mean car. Artificial intelligence, Bill Gates. So you're giving a person. Internet, visual reality, person and technology, car. There's no right or wrong answer. I'm just curious to hear your thoughts to see what this means to you. So it's very good exercise for all of us to see this. Arab civilization scientists, I love it. Very beautiful. Tablets, everything. Yeah, that's also true in a way. Everything you can see innovation in everything, truly. Even in nature, even in a tree. Artificial intelligence studies. I love that. Very good. So keep writing your thoughts if you have any, but I love all these answers, and especially some of you touched on things that go beyond the typical understanding of innovation. For example, one of you mentioned Arab civilization scientists in the old times. They were truly innovative, and we're going to see some examples later in this. So that's beautiful. Thank you all for sharing your ideas. So now we get to the workplace. After we discussed and had a good definition of what in simple ways creativity and innovation mean, I would like to talk a little bit about what are the benefits of creativity based on what we know so far. When you work in a place that's creative, what benefits are there? The first one, it produces meaningful team and individual outcomes. Many of us always hear teamwork, right? We always hear it. Every job post, whenever you get an interview, they'll say, how do you work with teams? And it is true. It's very important to know how to work with teams creatively, how to collaborate, how to produce great things as a team. But also, sometimes it's also important to work as an individual, depending on the career and the situation. Sometimes we have to be creative and work well individually and within teams. Sometimes the process starts, you brainstorm and take it to the team, right? And then the team discusses, and then you reach something. Sometimes the work starts as a team. They bring a project, and then everybody does a part of it individually. So my point here is that a place that values creativity as a workplace, it allows you to thrive as an individual and as a team, a team as well. So this is very important. It values and retains top talents. When a place is creative, you feel you can be your best and give your best and think your best. Then you love where you work, and then the best talents tend to stay rather than leave. It allows unique and original contributions. There is no innovation and creativity, particularly creativity, without being able to think, as many of you said at the beginning, outside of the box, coming with new ideas or looking at an idea from a different angle. So if you're not able to do that, then it makes it very hard for you to make contributions that are original. And any workplace does not advance, it does not sustain itself, and it does not have a good future if it does not allow for unique and original contributions. So this is a great benefit, of course. It prepares you individually, all of you that are sitting here today, to handle change strategically and wisely. We're living in a world that is changing all the time. Not all the changes are good. We have a lot of uncertainties, a lot of fear. There's a writer who beautifully said, somehow the future has become a threat instead of a promise. And I think there's a lot of truth to that, even though it sounds a little sad. It used to be the future is a promise. It's a great thing, but a future has become a threat in the sense of like, what is going to happen with the pandemic? Are we going to have another pandemic? What's going to happen to the environment, to the earth, the resources, my job, my life? So how do we handle all this pressure? It's huge. Creativity and a place that values that, and an individual who knows how to express that can definitely be more prepared for that. It nourishes critical thinking and problem solving abilities, which is very self-explanatory, and it keeps you competitive. When you're creative, doing your best, then you are always able to move from place to place, from field to field, and even across, whether within your country or outside, to be able to be competitive and to be on demand. If you have questions, either write them in chat or bring them to the question and answer time, which we'll have at the end, please, everybody. So I'm really looking forward to that. What are the features of an innovative workplace? We talked about the benefits, but when a place is innovative and creative, how do we know that? This is really important, right? A lot of us hear it all the time, but how do we identify it? Innovative creative workplaces, they encourage individual and teamwork. They don't only focus on one at the expense of the other. They know when to balance them. They know when this is needed and when the other one is needed. And they know how to create that balance, right? They never dismiss ideas and questions. No question is stupid. No idea does not have the potential of being taken further and made better and made deeper. Innovative places have diverse teams, because diversity, people from different places and cultures and languages, they have different thoughts. They can bring a lot of different perspectives to the table. And that really builds a place and makes a very beautiful environment and successful workplace, of course. It allows a lot of freedom and flexibility in so many ways, whether be it work hours, tasks, ways of thinking and doing in the workplace, as we discussed. So I'm not going to elaborate further, but I think it's clear to all of you here what that really means. It promotes creativity through workspace design. Sometimes even the design of the workplace, it can make you feel creative and innovative. It could be done in such a way where you interact with people easily, where the barriers don't exist. Sometimes there are many different designs. I'm sure you've noticed some of them where you can feel that. A great workplace that has innovation and creativity, it makes time and resources for what we call homeless ideas, which are ideas that nobody would support, or maybe there isn't enough money. It's a great idea, but we don't have money for this, or we don't have enough resources. Sometimes it's not money. It's another kind of resource, right? a great place will value that and will make a space for that, because sometimes these ideas that are homeless, nobody is embracing them, because at the moment that they come, maybe they are not beneficial, but later in the long term, remember I talked about long term and short term, we have to combine, and that's what it means. Sometimes you never know what an idea could do. So giving space for such ideas can be very crucial and beneficial. Utilize all available talents beyond the team. If this team have these talents, maybe I will need this talent for another team, for another department, and it's okay to go draw on different talents that work in a place. That way we can benefit from a talent in a team in many different parts of the place, and so on and so forth. So I hope this is clear. For the sake of time, I want to give you a beautiful tip that while I was doing research, I found on this, is that how do you recognize innovation in your career? I want to recognize it, right? How does that happen? So to recognizing it is this. It says, aspire to work for places and with individuals who support innovation by dedicating time is very important, and resources to novel ideas and inventive projects. This is a very good sign for you to know that a place you can thrive in. They will give you time, and they'll try to look for resources to help to support novel ideas and inventive projects. Top 10 skills, as I promised, we're going to talk a little bit about this. We have top 10 skills that enhance creativity and innovation. I want to start by saying something very important before I go into the skills. We are all born, each one of us here, with the ability to be creative and innovative. But it's whatever happens to us in life, whatever we encounter, whatever circumstances, privileges or lack of privileges that we have, they can become barriers of preventing us from access, from bringing the best out of us. So we as humans are able to be. And so we have to, not all of us have the same chances in life, of course. Some of us survive a war, some of us have poverty, some of us have a comfortable life. And there's nothing wrong with, there's nothing wrong with have a comfortable life. The point is that we don't all have the same access. That's important. And sometimes we mistaken not having access and privilege like somebody is not creative or somebody is not smart. That is far from the truth. We all have the possibility to be, the potential to be. And so that's why I'm entering this from the idea, how do we enhance? Instead of saying, how are creative and innovative people? I'm saying, how do we enhance creativity? Because we all could have the seed. It could be buried somewhere. And it could be there, but we don't have the means and the circumstances to bring it to life, right? So we have to identify that and find ways and resources to build on it. So people who value creativity and innovation, to enhance it, it takes risk-taking, being able to take risk, because sometimes risk can really take you to a place you never thought you would get at. It will open doors you never thought were there. There's a saying that I like. It says, sometimes we don't see the open doors because our eyes are sadly fixated on the closed door. A door closes and we keep sadly fixated on it, and we don't see other open doors. So learning how to take risk and be adventurous with ideas, with thoughts, and with doing things can really be a beautiful addition to our lives. High level of concentration is extremely important. Take a task, take something you want to work on and focus. Create all it takes for circumstances to focus. That can really help you. Problem solving, knowing how to deal with difficult problems, complex issues, and solving them. And sometimes we can't solve them all, but learning who to go to and who to work with, who to bring together to solve problems, that is creative and innovative. Challenging conformity. We do this, it has always been done like this. Don't come and interrupt me. Stop bothering me with all these ideas. This is how we've been doing this for 100 years. We hear things like that, right? Well, not everything that is old is bad. Some things are beautiful, and that's why they live to this day, right? Some traditions, some ideas are beautiful. They come from the past. We have great books. We're still reading great poets and writers from centuries back because what they have is meaningful. So I'm not saying that we should write off, erase everything that has been done a long time ago just because it's old. But we should challenge the things that don't work anymore, or the things that don't apply well to our new reality, or we should add Sometimes it's not a matter of erasing, it's a matter of adding to what we already have. So challenging conformity can be very important for us as people to thrive. Independent thinking and cognitive flexibility, to think independently, not only through a certain line or through, if I read 2 newspapers only and watch 2 channels only, then chances are I'm thinking through very similar, through very narrow, let's say, way. But if I expose myself to a lot of ideas, a lot of books on a certain topic or in different topics, then I'm expanding. And cognitive flexibility, it means مرونة في طريقة التفكير in Arabic, to be flexible. So I've always thought this is the best way, but maybe not. Maybe I need to be flexible about how I understand this idea. Or I always understood this idea this way, but maybe if I want to be cognitively flexible, I should look at this idea from a different direction and see, maybe this idea doesn't work, right? Always. Maybe this idea is true 80%, but not 20% of the time. So that flexibility is extremely important. We have to be comfortable with uncertainty. And I mean it not always in, there are different types of uncertainties, right? But there's the uncertainty in that life itself is very uncertain. I don't know when I'm going to die. I don't know what happen tomorrow that could change my life upside down. So having the right skills in my life, the right tools, can make me strong enough to navigate and be able to deal with uncertainties, to keep my peace, my inner peace as I go through them. Attention to details. It's important to pay attention to details, what's being said, what's happening. When I read something, not only read something that confirms my idea, but read carefully to see what I missed, what I could learn. I should be open to criticism. It's okay to receive criticism and be told that, or be challenged on what I'm thinking. I love it when people challenge me all the time with ideas. I always learn when I hear good critique or a good way of thinking about something, another way that is different than mine, that challenges my way. Strong work ethic. People who are innovative and creative, they work with a great ethic. They do it because they love it, they believe in it. It's not just for the salary. It's not just because they want to have this face of success and have this degree hang on the wall. It's because I really believe in this thing. I dedicate a big part of me to be in it. That is a work ethic. Work ethic is very different than being workaholic, by the way. Workaholic is not always a good thing, to be clear. Even in the studies that they have done on this, there's something to be said about working with passion because you love it, with concentration, and workaholic of sometimes just working nonstop, but not having a clear idea, a clear plan, a clear direction. So workaholic in that way may not always be beneficial, but work ethic, the ethic of what am I doing and why does it matter? Asking the right question is a very different story. So the question, the statement that you have in your life matters a lot. The ability to contribute independently and within teams. We talked a lot about this, and I talked in the previous slide how that matters, and I think it's a clear, so I won't be bothering you more about details with this one. Moving to the next slide. Problem solving. I wanted here to give you a small, nice tip, because again, we hear innovation, creativity, which is the point why we're doing this, about what they mean in the workplace. But we also, I guarantee you, if you look at any job post, you're going to see something about, we need somebody with good problem solving skills. What does it mean? So as you saw so far, problem solving is part of being creative, and therefore it can make us innovative as well, right? But what is it? I wanted to simply tell you how the process of being a good problem solver works. Problem solving skills are a big component of creativity and innovation. They consist of 2 activities that connect. They follow each other. 1, 2. Problem solving is setting and defining a goal. I have a goal, which you could think of it as a problem. A problem is not always a negative thing. For example, my company has this problem. I want to fix it. So that's a positive thing. It's good to know that there's something that needs to be fixed. So setting and defining the goal, and then looking for and combining all the resources to accomplish what I want to do, regardless of what it takes or how much resources I have. Learning how to bring the right resources is part of being a problem solver. I hope this definition, and I don't want to make it more complicated, but I hope in this simple format, it helps you to think and reflect on it. So Creativity, there are barriers, of course, to creativity and innovation, and there are coping mechanisms. I included this portion in the webinar for a very important reason. A lot of you are still university students, and a lot of you may not, you're beginning new careers, or you're going to start an internship, or you will enter the career world without maybe, even expecting some of these challenges, and you may not have the power always to deal with those challenges. So I understand how that feels to you, because I was there once. Everybody goes through that. And so I wanted to honor that point where a lot of you might see those barriers. And I wanted also to give you coping mechanisms, ways to deal with them, not just say, oh, this is a problem, go deal with it, right? So one of the things we deal with a lot as we enter careers, and this could be at any time of the career, by the way, not only entry level, but it's more so sometimes entry level, and dealing with it, excuse me, coping with it can be harder when you're just entering that world. Lack of autonomy, يعني الاستقلالية of decision making, right? So what do we do with that? This could happen a lot. As a beginner, you might not have all the autonomy to do everything you think is the right or the best way to do something. So one way to deal with that at that level is to provide evidence-based and suggestions and have strong negotiation skills. If I believe in an idea, but I don't have the power, I have to talk to others who have more power, my manager, their manager. I have to do research and evidence-based, put it on paper and provide the evidence why I think this idea is really important for us. It will help us go forward, get better at this, and then be able to negotiate. It's a skill. Anybody can become a good negotiator, right? So this can help us deal with lack of autonomy sometimes, because they will see we are really working hard on providing evidence to why we think this is a right way or this is a good idea, and so on. And clear directions. This is very common, more than you all think. And it's very hard. I really understand it when it happens. Sometimes they want you to do something, but you don't have enough directions. Sometimes the people working with you, unfortunately, they're just not good at explaining directions. They tell you they think it's enough, but it's not. Communication is very complex, right? In therapy, they say, if I send you message A and you receive B, the message is B, right? That's a very important concept. Then what that means, me sending the message, it's a big part of my responsibility to make sure you receive A. And sometimes people don't make sure that you receive A. You receive B and then they blame you. So, and clear directions. And it's very hard. Never hesitate. The coping mechanism, never hesitate to seek clarification and ask. Most people on the other side of the coin are kind, or kind enough to help you understand something better if you ask more questions. Because sometimes people don't know how much you understood of what they said. So it's good to have that communication open. So that's a very good way of dealing with that to the best you can. Fear. Many of us are afraid. Oh, my first day. Oh, I'm in probation period. I have the first 3 months to prove myself, or maybe they will not renew my contract, and on and on. A lot of scenarios. I'm sure you've heard about them. You know a lot of them. There's fear. What if they punish me? What if I do this good idea, but my manager fires me? All kinds of fear. How do we deal with that? There's a simple formula. It's not a solution for everything. Nothing I give is a solution for everything, by the way. But this simple formula is this. If you have fear when you're working, try to sit with yourself and identify what is scaring me. What is the source of my fear? And then, based on the answer, you can act. Sometimes the answer is to leave a place. Unfortunately, I'm being super honest. But sometimes the answer is a very simple, nice conversation with your manager. They will understand, and we're done. You will be surprised how easy sometimes the answer. But to keep living in fear, you will never resolve the problem. So identify and act. Know the source, the root. جذر المشكلة, جذر الخوف, and then work accordingly. Inadequate resources is a huge one everywhere. It happens in so many places. Not having enough resources to work, to do the work you want to do, to achieve, to finish the project, and so on. So one way to deal with that, especially if you are still a new employee where you don't have a lot of access, that you don't have a lot of power of decision making, and so on, is to repurpose resources and negotiate. Going back to negotiation. Sometimes you don't even have all the authority to repurpose, but you can renegotiate with the people who do, and they will appreciate that you're being innovative because you're trying to, from what you have for resources, to work within those to make something else happen. Repurpose resources and Sometimes you'll be surprised in a place you never expected. You might find an opportunity for help. You know, another team, another person that you get to know in your company, they might know something that could actually solve your entire problem and provide the right resources. They'll say, oh, there's that department, you could talk to person X. So that could help a lot. Other barriers, which are a bit more about us personally, how to even get deeper into ourselves. There's something called functional fixedness, which means التشبث بطريقة معينة في عمل ووظيفة الأشياء. يعني عندي هذا فقط لشرب الشاي. But what if I use it for something else? Maybe I can use it to plant. I could put some soil and put a seed and it will grow as a plant, a little plant. So عدم التشبث بفعالية ووظيفة الشيء هو جزء من الإبداع والابتكار. It's part of the fun. Sometimes a barrier is to be fixated. We only use cars for this. We only use this for this, and so on. So to overcome functional fixedness is to change how we describe the object. Sometimes to describe the object in detail could help you see other ways to use the object. So how to think about its component parts, right, can help you. And a lot of us as children, we would cut a piece from something and use it for something else. We've done a lot of this without knowing, by the way. We were very innovative and creative, but sometimes we lose that as we get older. So a big part of creativity, I'm gonna dare say, is going back a little bit to this curiosity when we were children and to this innovation we had as children, using resources and things, and being a bit playful with things, with resources. Design fixation, same kind of idea, but with design, being fixated on the design of the something. This is designed like this, and therefore it can only work as such and such, right? So one way to overcome that is to look for different features and uses of any design. And the last one is really about us, personal life and personal mission in life. Goal fixedness. I have the goal, أتشبث فقط بهذا الهدف ولا شيء غير. But sometimes we need to revise and change and edit our goals depending on what's happening to us. So sometimes rephrasing the words of your goal or changing the words or editing them a bit more. Just like the throw of a dice, I say here. You throw a dice with different combinations. It could change the whole equation for your life. It could make a big difference. One great example about this fixedness, some researchers have found that when Titanic drowned, the ship Titanic, you all know the story of Titanic, they didn't have enough life-saving boats, so a lot of people died, as you know. But the iceberg that the ship hit and started sinking was 400 meters long. Potentially, some people could have, we don't know if they could have done this, but potentially to not be fixated on the iceberg being a problem only, but maybe a solution. They thought that possibly people who could have jumped on the iceberg, which was 400 meters long, they could have just stayed there until they got help. So the thing that killed the ship probably could have been it's saving lives as well. This is what it means not to be fixated on the design, on the goal, on the function of something, right? Sometimes the solution is within the problem itself. So to learn how to see that is very innovative and creative, right? Sometimes the cure is in the illness as well, right? So that's what it means, how we think about things. I'm not going to keep this too long, but it's a beautiful selection that we selected for Air Pioneers in Innovation, and you will see the times. As some of you noted, the innovation is as old as humanity, right? Ibn Qasim al-Zahrawi, for example, Fatima bint Muhammad was a Moroccan. She أول امرأة بنت جامع. She built a mosque which turned into a university, which is considered the oldest university in the world that is still functioning to this day. جامعة القرويين in Maghreb. And Nazik al-Malaika from Iraq, the woman who came and challenged poetry, she said free verse, and she turned upside down everything about poetry. She was innovative. Ibn Battuta, he was an astronomer, a traveler, writer. His travelogues have been incredibly foundational for social scientists to think about, and many others. I'm not going to go through them, but I encourage you to see how these people came and what they did. We have examples from this era, like Toka Al-Hani. She is a PhD from MIT, engineer, scientist, researcher, professor, and entrepreneur. Assistant professor. As you see, all her work on AI has been influential and beautiful, very innovative. She's been featured in Wall Street Journal and many other achievements. So you see, we have great brains in our beautiful Arab world that are working and trying to innovate and make life better for all of us. Have Ahmed Majan. He's an engineer and retired Army major in the United Arab Emirates Armed Forces. Inventor of the Smart Saddle. It's a solar-powered electronic device that measures the heart rate of the animal being trained, the rider's weight, a compass, and a location tracker, a device to cool the animal's body temperature during exercise in warm climates. It's a huge thing. He's 14 international awards. So these are just examples to remind you all that you can all do great things. You can all do it, and you can all find ways, your niche, your place in life. So I want to give time for questions, and this has been so beautiful. I'm grateful for every minute and the fact that you were with me, paying attention to all these details, and I'm going to give it back, pay you back by opening the space to questions and ideas. I wanted to end with a beautiful, maybe more like literary reflection point on everything we discussed, which to me captures it in such a beautiful way, especially when it comes to uncertainty of life, to the changes that happen in life. So the Spanish philosopher Jorge Santayana, he teaches us a beautiful lesson about accepting change in life. And he says, to be interested in the changing seasons is a happier state of mind than to be hopelessly in love with spring. بدل ما أكون hopelessly just waiting إنه ما في أجمل بس إلا الربيع وإلا أنا miserable for the rest of the year. It's very beautiful to learn how to let my mind appreciate every season and everything it has to give, right? So I thought that was a beautiful way to end. And now we're going to open it to you to ask us questions. And thank you so much for your attention and for being with us.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lewis, for this wonderful presentation. So like Dr. Lewis said, we're opening the floor for any questions you have, whether it's about this presentation or creativity and innovation in general. And I think the biggest takeaway here is creativity and innovation isn't a new concept. It's something that we've had from the earliest of days, something as simple as, you know, university, that is something that's innovative, and it's what's allowing us to learn and especially be here today. So we do have one question I'm going to read, so if Dr. Lewis, you can answer. Where can I know more about Arab pioneers in innovation? It seems like a really interesting subject for me. I want to know more about this history.
Well, the answer, it depends on what area are you looking at, because in every area you have a lot of innovators and Arab thinkers and scientists. So as a first step, I just encourage you to go to Google, for example. I find that you have some more interesting resources in Arabic if you type in Arabic, because sometimes, and I say this because sometimes a lot of great Arab works are not translated into English yet, for a lot of reasons. You know, knowledge production, how it works in the world. So I would say, يعني أنا بالعربي أكتب مثلا مبدعين عرب في مجال علم الاجتماع, and then you're going to see Ibn Khaldun, Ibn Battuta, how they were foundational, what they wrote. مبدعين عرب في مجال الرياضيات, or في الطب Ibn Sina, عرب أو من العالم, يعني من المنطقة ككل as well. So يعني you're going to find a lot of resources. So I would say identify what area you're looking at and type and see what resources you come, and do deeper research. And sometimes you can find books on them. Actually, sometimes you can say Kutub an Ibn Sina and put PDF. You're going to find whole books available to read on any given thinker. So I've read a lot of books like that that are very readily available. Luckily, you know, in the Arab world, we have a lot of books available in PDF, easily accessible from my experience. And I recommend that you do that. So thank you, Reem. Reem says that was very useful as a graduate, and we are about to start our career life. That was the point. We were thinking about you as we were thinking about this whole topic. So I'm glad this was helpful. If you have any other questions, please. I think somebody raised their hand while I was talking. I think, was it Sarah? Do we have a Sarah?
So we actually have questions coming in through the Q&A.
Oh, okay. Let me look at those. Great, great. Okay.
All right.
So what are the books you recommend related to creativity and innovation, whether from history or today's world? This is a really good question, but it's also a very broad question. Yeah, and I mean it. It's a good question. But the answer is that it depends on what you want to know about creativity. For example, we focused here on workplace. As you saw, we talked about what does it mean to be creative at work, how to identify a good workplace that is innovative, and so on. So then you could always look for keywords on creativity, innovation, and the area. Very similar to what I talked when I talked about looking for Arab pioneers and Arab scientists and the history of it, where you can learn a lot about that. So I do encourage you to do that. For example, creativity in literature and innovation and philosophy, there are a lot of books philosophers have written, and quite honestly, you can learn a lot from literature and philosophy, concepts and ways of thinking that you could apply anywhere, including in business. Yani, for example, I'll give you an example because I appreciate the question very much. In literature, one of the ideas I like about originality, in literature, it says that creativity is to be original, right? يعني الإبداع هو الأصالة, to be original, right? To be original doesn't always mean to be better than others, more original than others. That might be a little true, but sometimes to be original is to outdo yourself. So I wrote an article 2 years ago. My next article shouldn't be the same level of thinking, the same tools of doing. After 2 years, I should write something with a different vision, a different insight, a more refined. So sometimes originality, creativity is to outdo yourself, not only what others are doing. So we have to find all these different angles, and literature teaches us a lot about creativity. There are a lot of ideas that speak to that, that challenge how we think about, about creativity. Another question. So thank you for the question. It was a really good questions. What are your ideas of the opinion that school stifles creativity? I'm talking with Zayed University. You're putting me in trouble. But I think it depends on the school, on the student, and on the educators. I think there is a lot of writings about how schooling, depending on the resources available and the ways of teaching and the kind of curriculum we have, schooling could really enrich our lives. It is supposed to, but sadly, as you say, it could also stifle our lives depending on it. But I guarantee that maybe each one of you here can think of at least one teacher, whether in primary school, high school, or now at Zayed, who could say, this teacher really understood me, really changed my life. And regardless, despite the barriers in the education systems, and yes, they can have a lot of issues, they do. I will not lie to you about this. And they could be better, but we are in them. And so we could always make changes. But despite that, I would say, sometimes it takes one great teacher, one great moment to turn yourself upside down. And they say a great teacher is a person who doesn't necessarily always teach you new things, but they confirm things that were always inside of you and bring them back to life. The same idea that creativity is how to turn an idea into something real. Sometimes a teacher brings the best out of you, not always just fill you like a bucket with water or with something, And sometimes good schooling, good education is not to tell you what to think, but to give you the tools so that you can think for yourself. And that is a very big difference. This book says this is the right thing. This is very different than saying, this is how you should think, this is how you should learn, and then go on your own. You have the tools, the idea of لا تعطني سمكة علمني كيف أصطاد. If I give you samaka, you're going to eat it and you're done. You don't have the tools to fish. But if I teach you how to hunt, how to fish, then you will always do it on your own. And that is the big difference between really good schooling and getting the right tools. So thank you, Muhammad, for the question. A very good one. Other questions? How to have creative flexibility. I should mention something really important here, by the way, which means I'm going to move to the next slide while talking. where is it? Do we have the, here you see courses on Young Thinkers program that can all help you one way or another about to build and hone and polish your creative and innovative skills. So you see all the courses we have. I'm not going to read the titles, but they're in front of you. I encourage you to take our courses that have great tools for you to work with. But going to the question, which is how to have creative flexibility. And I think the question here relates to what I talked about in the last two slides when I was talking. Flexibility is not to be fixated on something, right? So we talked about some of the biggest obstacles, barriers in the way of creativity and innovation are to be fixated in the way of thinking, in the way of doing, and in the function and design of the things we're working with. So to be creative, to have creative flexibility means to be able to go beyond that, to see new features in a design, a new function in a product, and even to read a language with a new eyes, to write with a new way. The philosopher Immanuel Kant, he's a German philosopher, says beautifully about language, which I think you could apply to many places. He says it's how to use common language to say uncommon things. It is possible to use a common language. I could use very simple words where everybody can understand, but I will say uncommon things. I will let people think in a different way. So it's not about the difficulty of something. Sometimes the most difficult thing is to say something profound and deep in a simple way and let it get across. We're talking about the message A to B. If I send A, you receive B. Sometimes it's the hardest thing in creativity is to be able to get across to the other, right? And that applies to other contexts. So that's a great question, and thank you for it. I hope you will see other answers in the courses that we have at Young Thinkers program. Do you think it is acceptable to give your opinion when you are new to the workplace and you have an idea to change something with something else more creative? A great question, a really big challenge that a lot of us face. And I'll be honest with you, I face this a lot in many of my jobs. So I feel this question a lot. It's almost like a personal thing. And I think as we talked, it's not always easy depending on your situation. You're new, you're trying to prove yourself, but if you have the right, it's not about what you say, but how you say the thing. And by that, I don't mean you have to lie and you have to be fake. When I say it's how you say it, sometimes that's used also overused. You hear it. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. And sometimes they mean it in a negative way, as if they're telling you need to play a game. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying is how you say it, meaning finding the right way to get across to the person that this is what's happening and I see this. But remember, I talked, whatever you say, you should have evidence. You should put some effort into doing some research into your idea to show the other person, let's say it's your manager, why you're thinking this way. What is the justification for your thought? So it is possible, the answer, but the way we do it, it has to be thoughtful and based on evidence. And with research and evidence comes having good negotiation skills. Negotiation skill means I know how to negotiate with you. If you say this, I'll find a way to to respond thoughtfully so that the conversation continues to be a conversation, right? So I hope this helps. And thank you. It's a really good question. The other question is, what initiatives are there that can set the base to anybody's way to innovation? I don't think I understand the question. I would like more clarification. What do you mean by initiatives? Are they initiatives like personal things that you should do? If that's what you mean, we talked about some skills that enhance creativity and innovation, as you saw in the slide. So those are initiatives you could take to build those skills, polish them, and even acquire them if you feel that you need them. You don't have them yet in your life. And so that's an initiative you could take. But if you mean by some kind of an existing program or initiative, I'm not sure. I would like organize workshops or programs, for example. I would defer this question maybe to my colleagues, if Amal or my colleague Sireen, if she's able to respond to this, because nothing comes to my mind right at this moment.
So I think the biggest initiatives and workshops and programs that exist, I think within the UAE that's outside of a university setting, are the workshops provided with Dubai Future Foundation and Dubai Future Academy. They constant, and I think right now, because of COVID, they shifted a lot of their workshops to online. So it's really accommodating to a lot of students and those who can't necessarily commute every day for a workshop, and they're very valuable. So that's one foundation and one academy that I'm sure about offers all these programs, and I would definitely check them out. And on the regular, we post any additional programs or any additional opportunities that allow you to express your creativeness and innovativeness on our Young Thinkers program announcements channel. So we recently had one with Huawei that just wrapped up. And these things come as they come throughout the year, so we'll make sure to post them. So if you create an account with the Young Thinkers program and join us, we'll make sure that you stay abreast on all these different opportunities. So I hope that answers your question to the best of its ability.
Thank you so much, Amal, for answering this question. And it's a really good question. So it's basically very useful for you all to know this information. And of course, if you don't have an account with YTP, please come and have an account. You can also email us if you have questions even about this or other webinars in the future. You have the option of also emailing us at advising@youngthinker.org if you have questions that I could support you in as well. In terms of career, academic, education, thinking, or the topics of the webinars in which, in any way that I could provide resources or help you. So also, don't hesitate to be in touch with us. We're here for you to support you in this journey. Other questions? Well, if there are no other questions, I would like to say that it was really a pleasure for me. I'm so grateful for your attendance, everybody, and I hope to see you in other future webinars and be with Zayed University again in other future occasions. And thanks to everybody who supported this and made it possible. And I'll give it back to my colleague Amal. Thank you, everybody. It was a pleasure to be with you today. I hope this was as useful as I promised. And thank you for your attention and for your kind engagement, which I appreciated greatly.
Thank you so much, Louis, for all your efforts. And again, Zayed University and in Abdullah Al Ghurair Foundation for Education. In the chat, I'm going to link a quick survey if you guys have any time to fill out. It shouldn't take anything more than a minute. But this survey also teaches us what to improve next time and what type of topics that you guys be interested in. So please be as truthful as possible. If you do join the Young Thinkers program, you could always reach out to Dr. Lewis and our female success advisor, who is equally as awesome, Nada and Nunu, through the Young Thinkers program chats. So they're there to answer your questions throughout the school days. So thank you guys so much once again, and we look forward to future collaborations.
Take care, everybody.